boy, we got a new addition to the honey and wax processing equipment stable. Come on, let's go inside and take a look. Well, hello there everyone. This is Barry's Best Honey. I'm Mike and I do bees. Welcome back to Southeast Louisiana. As I said at the beginning, I got myself an addition to the honey extraction wax processing equipment stable. I wanted to build this thing, and so I began going through and picking up parts and pieces. I was being really cheap, and my buddy, my friend down the road, fellow beekeeper, y'all met him, Kenny, from the cutout that Mr. Ed and I did. Kenny was my temporary cameraman that day. He looked at me and he's cheap, man. He'll tell you he's cheap. He builds everything, and I looked at his example of his, and you know, I said, I can do that. I can add that to my equipment stable. So I went and bought all these parts and pieces, returned a few, spent money back and forth, going to the store, going everywhere. Nope, this is wrong. Nope, you can do this. Can I weld this? Can I do this? Can I do that? And he looked at me when I finally said, man, this thing's a pain to build. And he said, it's hard being cheap, ain't it? It's hard being cheap, and it was getting quite expensive to be cheap. So I says to myself, self, you're saving this money off to the side for items. Yes, the item's expensive, but it's going to cost you 2/3 if you get it welded and everything else and make it electric. And you can sit here and struggle putting it all together, or you can buy one. And that's what I did. I bought the wax melter. I did not, and bucket warmer, by the way, to put a bucket in there and warm it. I got tired of being cheap. And the one I was going to build, now I was going to be able to build one pretty cheap. I got a crawfish tank and all that. I was going to be able to build one pretty cheap. With fittings and everything, $50 max. Put it on my crawfish burner. Well, then I got to thinking, I'd really like it to be electric like this one. Well, shoot, those immersion heaters are $250 for a cheap one. For, a cheap good one. You need a good one that's going to last. So I said, you know what? I got the money from the beekeeping. I'm making the money back into the hobby. You get one big ticket item every year. So I bought it. I bought it. I went for it. But to have it really done right, you need to weld the inserts in to screw the fittings in, and that was going to cost money, and I couldn't do it electric. And if I want to do this right after I'm done harvesting and my cappings are drained and I'm ready to put them in there, I can't really do that in the summer after harvest outside. I will be engulfed with bees trying to burn that thing on a, melt that wax on a burner outside. So I got to wait. And that's what I'm doing now. I'm over here waiting with all this wax ready to be rendered, and other wax out in the freezer ready to be rendered. But I had to wait till winter. Well, I didn't really even get to it this winter because I was busy trying to be cheap and build one. So we're going to see how this thing works today. I can get my cappings done. And the nice thing about this now is my cappings won't sit in a shelf collecting wax moths and all that stuff. I'll be able to do it within a week after it all draining and getting it out of the uncapping tank. I'll be able to throw it in my melter and get it done. That's another thing about a lot of this beekeeping equipment. Outside of that boiler, all this stuff you buy, it's hard to stomach the cost sometimes because they're all one-time use items, or once a year use items, I should say. But I always said to folks, yeah, in the end, you spend a lot as a hobby beekeeper to buy that stuff, but I also work full-time as a hobby beekeeper. So I don't want to spend days and days and days with jobs dragging out that I can get done quicker and have more time for my family time and just my relaxation time. So it's an investment in time. It's a good investment. And it's paid for with the hobby. Let's get this thing going, and I'll bring you back when we start it up. Something I did when I put my little on-demand water heater in, gave it a hose. See? So all I gotta do is go ahead and turn this thing on up as high as it go to 140. And I'll fill it with some water that's already somewhat warm. That hose is especially nice when I'm cleaning up my tank and my extractor and everything. And once a year I clean out my bottler. It's especially nice for that because you can do everything inside now with buckets and a hose. And water and hot water and soap, and it makes it so much easier. So I'm filling it up with hot water. There's a little rack down there, and so you set a bucket down in here and you fill it up, and after you get the water hot, you drop the bucket in and it'll liquefy the honey for you. Don't know that I use that very often. I don't see a need for that rack to be in there. It's just gonna get wax all over it. Alright guys, here we are back. It's actually a day or two later. What is it, a day later? Yeah. I didn't have time yesterday. Something came up and I had to go. So anyway, I came in here and I got this thing boiling. What I will say, you fill it up to that first valve, which is about that ring right there. And then you turn the heater on. The heater does take about 2 hours. So that's something I need to plan for. But as you can see, it's a rolling boil. So I'm going to pour this in. Make sure y'all can see. Mainly on the top, but the rest of this is just regular cappings. So I'm going to put all this in. Just some hot water. Don't want to be careful with it. Take it slow and easy. So I'm going to, there's a big old piece. Now the wax is settled at the bottom somewhat. Woo, there we go. Oh yeah, that's hot. Well, let's get this. Yeah, that's good and hot. Alright, let's get more of this in there. So then they say it takes about 10 minutes to get this rolling again. But I'm putting more than this in here. I'm going to put a lot in here. I didn't buy it to do just a little bit. I got this one too. And you can see wax moths have started getting in here. Even inside, it doesn't matter. And I know it's cappings. It's not even brood wax. It's just those things are so bad. So if I can get this done within the first month after my extraction, shoot, man, I'm cooking with gas, yeah. Some of this is in patties. I would squeeze it into patties. Kenny, my buddy, taught me that. And you set them patties like hamburger patties all inside that tank and just let them drain out. Look, they drain completely out. They crumble up to nothing. But we're going to let the wax melter take care of them. That's all I'm going to do. I'm going to push this down, get everything coated in this hot water. Alright, I'm going to put the lid on here. See how long it takes it to come back up to temp. It's already bubbling some. Now, while we're waiting, I'm going to turn you off and I'm going to clean everything up. Alrighty, we got the wax in the water back to a boil. To come back up to that, and I got to turn it down pretty quick. It took, let's see, 20. It took a little bit longer than what the guy said, but I also used really cold wax, and I also used more than he did. So maybe that's the factor. He said 15 to 20 minutes. It took mine about 35 minutes to 40 minutes to come back up. That's alright though. I watched Devin Ron's video and he said it was a few hour process throughout the day to do it. So we let that go for a few minutes. So the unit has been turned off. It sets for about 10 to 15 minutes. And what that does, it allows everything to settle out. It allows the wax to move up. There's going to be debris on top of this wax. But you drain it through some cheesecloth. And then a lot of the slum gum and honey and all that also will be down in the bottom at different levels, just at different stuff. So we'll drain everything in just a minute and see how this thing works out. Alright, so now the trick is to drain this water off. I've already drained some. And see if we can get wax. There's honey in it, so it's already kind of yellow. Can't stick your finger in it and see if it's wax. Let's see if we can tell when we start getting wax. When we get wax, then we stop. And we drain from this one. Yeah, that's water still. Should be able to tell the difference, but first time using it, I don't know. I'm just going to drain it real slow and see what happens. I'm going to put some pipes on this to go down so that it doesn't drain like that. Yep, starting to get wax now. So we got a little bit of wax in here. That's fine. That'll float to the top. We can remelt that later. So now I'm getting wax. So now we got to drain out of this one through a strainer. So I'm going to drain it through some cheesecloth. And this is going to be tricky to learn how to get it. I'm going to put some down pipes on here so I don't have to do this. I meant to buy them and I never did. But we're just going to take it easy. I'm going to do one silicone mold. Oh there's some. Whoa. Where's it going?
You're good.
I missed a little bit of debris from the top, but once we just take our time with this. Alright, so I'm gonna let that drain off. Oh man, that box is gonna come through. Alright. Let's try this now again. For my next trick, we'll fill another one. Uh-oh, it may not have that much wax. It's coming out clean though. Alright, so 2 nice blocks of clean wax. It's all ready to go. No rendering a second time or anything. Alright guys, so I went out and got an old raggedy nasty wax bucket that I do brood wax in. Because what's left in the tank between the 2 valves, okay, is still plenty of wax, but it's not real clean. So I'm going to run it through 1 sheet of cheesecloth through a strainer and see, can we, you know, filter it out a little bit, save that. I got some hot water in the bottom here. What that'll allow me to do is break it loose easier, and we're gonna try and render the rest of it, and then everything underneath this should be pretty much old watery slum gum. There's gonna be a lot of debris in this one, but that's all right. Oh yeah, there's wax forming now. Get this drained off, and then everything else should be trash. We can drain out the plug, or when it's cool, I can just flip it over and pour it out in the woods. Then this I can just render with another run. And then next I got chunks of brood wax. The big cakes that I made, I'm gonna throw them in here and do the same with those. Got it today, I like it. I like what it's doing. It's so easy now, and I can do it inside. So that means right after wax honey harvest, I can jump right on wax rendering a couple weeks later, maybe a month later when the cappings, you know, drain off a little bit more, and shoot, man, this thing, I'll be done. No wax moths getting in stuff, nothing. That looks like that's it. That's filtered out pretty clean. I should have put it in a clean bucket. Live and learn, right? I'll do it next time. The debris that's in the bucket from the bucket itself. And then I got this bucket here. I wasn't quite sure what was coming out wax or not. I think I've got maybe 1/8 of an inch on there. I can't really tell. I can see it drying on the top, but it's gonna be a small crust. I'll break that out. You can see the old wax moths that got in there. They're dead now. Well, there you go, guys. My wax melter. It is easy to make a mess with that, I can tell, but I'm confident I can get it more efficient on the next run. I'm thinking I got a good amount of wax. So I got these 2 little pans. And I've got that bucket that's got about that much wax in it. Put water in the bottom so maybe I can break it loose easier. And the only thing left in here should be just goop. Alrighty folks, here's the final result. This one, yeah, just peel it off. That's some clean wax for 1 rendering. 1 quick render. 1 quick, really wasn't quick. I think the whole process and everything with just about a 5-gallon bucket's worth of wax, a full 5-gallon bucket's worth of wax, probably took 3.5 hours total. But it was all done inside, and I can refine the mess part of it. This is the next day, by the way. And then here's the one. You gotta peel these off, looks like. That was without the, so they both, the silicone worked. They both stuck about the same amount, one with the release and one without. But it didn't make a difference on cleanliness. Still clean and shiny, nice wax. So let's look at this one in the bucket. Now, where I made my mistake, I should have used a clean bucket. Because I thought maybe that wax that was left between the 2 valves, that about inch of wax, in that tank. I figured it would be kind of slummy and gummy and it was going to clog up my cheesecloth, and it didn't. It actually drained really nice and clean in here. Look at even the water coming out is nice and clean. Let's bust this loose and I'll see what it looks like. Let me take it outside, bust it loose, and bring it in. But if I would use a clean bucket without debris in the bottom, old wax debris from brood comb, I wouldn't have these old particles and all in there. No worries, I'm going to throw this right back into another rendering, but I shouldn't have done it that way. A clean bucket, and I probably just have to scrape the bottom, but let's look. Alright, so this ain't bad. So that all wouldn't have been there. It would have been nice and clean, and we would have had that one little spot we can scrape. And there you go, that scrapes right off. It's smooth. So that's a pretty nice take. Clean. This is ready to go. I could sell this the way it is, but I won't. I'll make stuff from it. But that's pretty nice. Let's see what the tank and everything ended up looking like. Alright, so how much did I waste when I was checking out? Like I said, about a 1/4 inch. About maybe a half. So next time I just gotta be a little careful when I drain that off. But again, I'm gonna scrape it and we're gonna use it. I'll put it with the next rendering, and next time when I drain it off, I'll be more careful so I don't get that much in there. That's not bad at all. This system is allowing me not to waste much wax when I'm doing this. What's left in the tank? Ooh, a lot of condensation. A lot of condensation, that's what, but how thick is this piece? And that looks like it's about the same piece. Yeah, it's not even, it's still warm. It's not much. We just got nice debris layer and then wax with floaties that are mixed in. So what I can do is after all my wax renderings are done and I get all my clean wax, I can just keep collecting that stuff and then throw it all together and do one final one. Probably in there with a nice clean batch of water. I could basically do a nice clean rendering with that. Yeah, I think that's what I'm going to try. Alright guys, I'm happy with that. So I sure hope you enjoyed my little adventure here. My first time using my wax melter. If you did, please don't forget to give the video a thumbs up, if you don't mind, of course. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. And don't forget to share this video with friends, family, anybody that just enjoys watching wax melting. Or bees. This is Barry's Best Honey. I'm Mike, and I do bees. Y'all have a wonderful, wonderful evening, and may God bless you. We'll see y'all later.